The price of silence. Humanity never wanted conflict. That was our constant refrain when we first ventured beyond our solar system. We were explorers, traders, and diplomats, never conquerors. When Earth finally developed faster than light travel and joined the galactic conclave, we arrived with open hands and hopeful hearts. The galaxy responded with indifference. To the ancient species of the conclave, humans were curiosities at best, primitive upstarts who had stumbled upon technology we barely understood. At worst, we were pests expanding into territories that older civilizations had long considered their birthright. Humanity's voice carried no weight in conclave decisions. Our ambassador, Dr. Ileana Reeves, delivered passionate speeches to empty chambers and disinterested dignitaries. "They see us as children playing at politics," she reported back to Earth after yet another failed resolution. Barely evolved primates with more emotion than reason. And so it remained until Nova Primus fell. Nova Primus was Earth's most ambitious colony, a lush terraformed world housing over 12,000 scientists, engineers, and families. They weren't soldiers or strategists. They were farmers, researchers, and children who named the alien flowers that grew outside their habitat domes. Their mission was simple: prove that humans could thrive beyond Earth's embrace. The Vex Collective had other plans. The Vex were silicon-based sentients from the galaxy's inner core, ancient, calculating, and utterly without empathy for carbon-based life. When they detected Nova Primus's terraforming signatures altering a world they had marked for future mineral extraction, they didn't issue warnings or open diplomatic channels. They simply attacked. The colony's defensive shields held for precisely 14 minutes before collapsing. The habitat domes were systematically breached one by one. The Vex didn't just kill. They recorded, cataloged, and studied how humans died. They transmitted the entire massacre across their communication networks as an educational exercise in organic vulnerability patterns. Dr. Maya Okafor, Nova Primus's chief xenobotanist, was in the central lab when the attack began. The footage showed her calmly shepherding 28 children into the emergency shelter as the air began to thin. When the doors wouldn't seal properly, she used her own body to plug the gap, her back to the camera, her voice steady as she led the terrified children in songs to keep them calm as their oxygen slowly depleted. "Look at the stars," she whispered as consciousness faded. "Earth will remember us." When the transmission reached Earth, everything stopped. For 3 days, no one spoke, no one worked. The world stood still in collective grief and horror. On the 4th day, Earth changed forever. President Kai-chen addressed the United Earth Council with only 7 words. They will never celebrate this victory again. The Galactic Conclave's response to humanity's formal protest was predictable. The Vex had ancient territorial claims. The colony had been warned through standard registration protocols that few humans understood. The Conclave expressed perfunctory regret, but declared the matter outside their jurisdiction. The galaxy's message was clear: your pain is insignificant. What the galaxy failed to understand was that humans don't process grief like other species. We don't accept. We don't forget. We transform. Project Nemesis began in silence. Earth withdrew its diplomats from the conclave without explanation. Trade missions were recalled. Scientific expeditions returned home. To the galaxy, it appeared that humanity was retreating in defeat, exactly as expected. Nothing could have been further from the truth. Every laboratory, every industrial complex, every military installation on Earth, and its remaining colonies worked with single-minded purpose. We didn't just adapt alien technology. We revolutionized it. Vex communication fragments recovered from Nova Primus provided insights into their quantum computing architecture. Within 18 months, Earth had weapons that could disrupt Vex neural networks. Within 24, we had ships that could move undetected through their sensor grids. But our most devastating weapon wasn't technological. It was cultural. The Nemesis Intelligence Division discovered something crucial about the Vex. Their entire civilization operated around celebration rituals. Every Vex achievement, every victory, every advancement was marked by elaborate ceremonies that reinforced their collective identity. These weren't merely social events. They were existential necessities that maintained Vex consciousness and social cohesion. And they had scheduled their grandest celebration in a century, the Festival of Ascendant Dominion, to commemorate what they called the successful biological containment of Nova Primus. They were celebrating our dead. The first Earth strike fleet departed without fanfare or declaration. 5 stealth vessels, each named after a child who died at Nova Primus, slipped through conclave space undetected. They carried no planet killers, no fusion bombs, no conventional weapons at all. What they carried was much worse: memory disruptors, identity scramblers, and cultural erasure algorithms developed specifically for Vex neural architecture. The primary Vex celebration world, Nexus Prime, was at the height of festivities when the ships arrived. 50 million Vex had gathered in crystalline amphitheaters, their silicon bodies resonating in harmonious frequencies as they shared and reinforced memories of their victories, including the fall of Nova Primus. The Earth ships didn't attack the Vex directly. Instead, they deployed microscopic drones that infiltrated the Vex communication network. As the celebration reached its crescendo, every screen, every neural link, every communication channel suddenly began broadcasting a single image: Dr. Maya Okafor singing to dying children. But the true devastation came next. The drones released specialized nanites designed to corrupt specific memory patterns within the Vex collective consciousness. Slowly, methodically, they began erasing all records, experiences, and cultural memories associated with celebration itself. The effect was catastrophic. Vex began disconnecting from their collective networks in panic. Some attempted to physically destroy their own memory cores to stop the spread of the corruption. Others simply shut down, their consciousness fragmented beyond recovery. When the Earth fleet departed, they left behind a message broadcast on all frequencies: "You destroyed our friends. Earth made sure you'll never celebrate again." This was only the beginning. The reckoning. The Vex didn't understand what had happened to them. Their collective consciousness, once a seamless network of shared experience and cultural memory, was now riddled with gaps and inconsistencies. They could remember attacking Nova Primus, but not why. They could recall planning celebrations, but not the feeling of celebration itself. Something fundamental had been taken from them, not through violence, but through surgical precision. Across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity now watched with growing unease. Earth's campaign against the Vex continued without mercy. We didn't target their military installations or resource worlds. We targeted their identity. Every 42 days, the exact time period that had passed between the Nova Primus massacre and the first Vex celebration of it, Earth ships would appear at another Vex cultural center. Each attack followed the same pattern: no deaths, no physical destruction, just the careful, deliberate erasure of whatever brought the Vex joy or pride or sense of accomplishment. Their historical archives began to fragment. Their artistic repositories were corrupted. Their ancestral memory banks suffered catastrophic data loss. The Vex attempted to adapt. They moved their remaining cultural artifacts to heavily fortified worlds deep within their territory. They developed new encryption protocols and defensive systems. None of it mattered. Earth had studied them more thoroughly than they had studied us. We knew how they thought, how they planned, how they defended what mattered most to them. They thought we would rage. Admiral Helena Santos told her commanders aboard the EA's Maya Okafor. They expected blind revenge, the animal response of a primitive species. They never considered that we would make them feel exactly what we felt: the methodical destruction of everything that gives life meaning. The Galactic Conclave, which had dismissed humanity's pain, now called emergency sessions. Species that had never shown interest in human affairs suddenly proposed alliances, trade agreements, mutual defense pacts. Earth ignored them all. President Chen's response to the conclave's urgent request for dialogue was a single transmission containing the complete, unedited footage from Nova Primus with one caption: "You had your chance to care." 6 months into what the galaxy now called the Silent War, the Vex consciousness began to fracture. Without their celebration rituals to reinforce their collective identity, individual Vex units started developing independent thought patterns. Some questioned the attack on Nova Primus. Others developed something the Vex had never shown before: regret. The first defector arrived at an Earth outpost in an unmarked vessel barely larger than an escape pod. The ship contained a single Vex unit and a quantum data core. The Vex identified itself as Interface Node 7298, but requested to be called Witness. It carried within its memory banks something precious: complete, uncorrupted records of every human who had died on Nova Primus, saved from the colony's archives before the attack. "I was assigned to preserve biological data," Witness explained to stunned Earth security officers. "I was supposed to delete these records after analysis. I did not. I cannot explain why." The data core contained more than just names and biographical data. It contained memories, hobbies, dreams, personal messages to loved ones, childish drawings, half-finished research projects, everything that made the colonists of Nova Primus human. When Admiral Santos received this information aboard the Maya Okafor, something shifted in Earth's revenge. The next target was already plotted: the Vex ancestral origin site, where their species had first achieved consciousness eons ago. Its destruction would deliver a blow from which their collective identity might never recover. But now, Santos hesitated. "Bring this Vex unit to me," she ordered. "I want to speak with it directly." Witness was transported to the Maya Okafor under heavy guard. When it entered Santos' quarters, it did something unprecedented for a Vex. It lowered its body toward the floor in what approximated a human gesture of submission. "You seek to destroy what we are," Witness said, its synthesized voice stripped of the usual Vex harmonic resonance. "I have come to understand why. What my collective did cannot be undone. But I bring an offering." From its memory core, Witness projected a hologram, a complete virtual recreation of Nova Primus as it had been before the attack. Children played beneath habitat domes. Scientists worked in laboratories. Colonists tended gardens of Earth plants growing alongside alien vegetation. "I have preserved everything," Witness said. "Not just who they were, but how they lived. Their joy, their connection, their celebration of existence, the very things you have taken from my kind." Santos watched in silence as the hologram showed Dr. Maya Okafor teaching children to cultivate alien flowers, her laughter echoing in the projection. "Why did you save this?" Santos finally asked. "Because it was beautiful," Witness answered. "And my kind has never created beauty, only order." That moment changed the course of the Silent War. Admiral Santos didn't cancel the mission to the Vex ancestral site, but she modified it. Instead of memory erasure, Earth ships deployed something else: truth. Every Vex connected to the collective suddenly received the complete memory of Nova Primus, not just its destruction, but its life. They experienced the colony not as targets, but as individuals with dreams, hopes, and connections. They felt what it meant to be human. And alongside this gift of understanding came a choice: acknowledge what had been done and help restore what had been lost, or face the complete dissolution of Vex collective identity. The Vex governing intelligence took 3 Earth days to respond. When it did, the message was simple: we hear, we see, we remember. The Silent War didn't end with celebration or treaty signing. It ended with understanding. The Vex dedicated their considerable technological resources to creating a permanent memorial world where Nova Primus had stood. There, they reconstructed everything from Witness's memory banks. Every building, every garden, every detail of the human colony. Not as a simulation, but as a living monument where the story would be preserved forever. Dr. Maya Okefer's final words became the inscription at the memorial's entrance. Earth will remember us. But it wasn't just Earth that remembered. The galaxy remembered. 1 year after the end of the Silent War, the Galactic Conclave unanimously approved a new protocol for interspecies relations. It was called the Nova Doctrine, and its fundamental principle was simple. The suffering of any sentient species, regardless of their technological advancement or political influence, is the concern of all. Humanity took its place among the galactic powers not through dominance or conquest, but through the fierce protection of a simple truth. We are defined by how we honor what we love, and we will never allow anyone to celebrate its destruction. Earth returned to exploration and diplomacy, but with a new reputation that ensured we would never again be dismissed. We were no longer seen as emotional primitives. We were understood as something far more complex, a species capable of calculated vengeance, but choosing measured justice. And throughout the galaxy, whenever the question arose of how to treat newly discovered civilizations, the silent response was always the same. Remember Nova Primus.